Reform UK has held a press conference setting out their energy policy plans. It's a fascinating grab bag of theories, but it feels a bit like a fascinating misstep. The Populist Party generally has its finger on the pulse, but this feels like it would alienate voters. And if these plans came to pass, probably raise the cost of power. Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, speaking this week, described the ambition for net zero as the greatest act of self-harm ever imposed on a nation. That's the problem for reform. But what do they prescribe? A windfall tax on renewable energy, a solar farm tax on farmers, a ban on battery storage, and finally requiring National Grid to put cables underground. Along the way, they also come out in favour of nuclear, particularly SMRs, and shale gas. The last two governments have been committed to net zero and have contributed to accelerating the decline of the North Sea. However, the country has been increasingly reliant on gas imports for many years, since around 2000 in fact. And the main driver of electricity prices is the marginal cost, which is often gas. Trying to extend UK gas consumption will inevitably increase imports and price insecurity. Could shale gas be the answer? Not really. It's baffling how Reform is opposed to building cables above ground owing to community opposition, but they also back shale gas, which has really only ever worked in the wide open spaces of North America. And of course, there are a number of other reasons why it's worked in the US and Canada, the US in particular, not least the royalty system. But what about nuclear? Our current nuclear fleet is aging, and plans for new facilities are painfully slow. Could these move faster? Yeah, probably, but it's not going to be a cheap process. The new Hinkley Point plan may cost nearly £48 billion, up from its original price of £18 billion. And that's for about 3.2 gigawatts of capacity. It's a lot of money. And SMRs? Well, again, they remain very much an unknown. Tech evangelists love to talk about them as a cure-all, but there's very little evidence that these would work as intended as yet. And again, if the future is nuclear, how would that power be distributed when all cables need to be buried? And of course, also, would the communities that Reform is trying to protect by burying cables underground take kindly to having SMRs built on their doorstep? All in all, I would say D+. Reform has hit on some big buzzwords, and they've brought up the challenges of power price formation, but they've really failed to understand how the market works, and this does little to solve the problems. Better luck next time.